For some, flight sim is just a game. For others, it's a training tool. And for others, it's a way out of life. In this video, I'm going to go through my struggles in life and how flight sim has helped me. Stay tuned. So first off, to start off the bat, this could be an emotional video. Okay, I'll be very honest with you. I've dealt with a lot of issues, and if you've been on my channel in the past, more importantly the streams, you'll know about the background already. And we all come from different backgrounds of, just life in general. And officially, I guess, May of 21. And that's when the majority of my health situations went for the worse. So around that time is when I was diagnosed with cancer. Now, I've been having some issues in the past, and I put them off as if it was just, body issues or getting older, not being in shape. And so I didn't think much of it. So when I was officially diagnosed with cancer, it was obviously hard. And with anyone who deals with that in their life, it could be traumatizing. If you don't have a support group, if you don't have answers, which a lot of people don't have with cancer, if you don't have the greatest doctors you can possibly have, or the financial support to pay for those doctors, it could be very burdening. And thankfully, I have an incredible wife, I have an incredible supportive family, I have an incredible supportive job, and I was able to get some in the most incredible doctors I've ever had the opportunity to work with, all of which have helped me throughout this journey and to get me where I am today, which is cancer-free. But to go back, so I was diagnosed with cancer, and when the potential chance of me having it, I had to take the rest of the day off from work. I was at work, I got a call. The doctor said, there's a chance you might have cancer. And I got a phone, and I was just blank. I had no emotion. I had no idea. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. So I make my phone calls that he recommends. I call my mom. I tell my wife, and I go home, and the first thing I could think of is, I'm going to fly. I'm going to fly in the sim. And it was a way for me to escape the reality of the situation. Because at that very moment, in that cockpit, I wasn't a cancer patient. I was a pilot. And I was flying in an aircraft and flying where I wanted to. And the sky was the limit, as Microsoft says, right? Put a little bit of fun and twist into it. And so planning flights, setting up the FMCs, and managing the airline itself, or the airliner, helped give me structure when I felt completely out of place in that very moment. And it helped me rebuild confidence, because it gave me something that I do well, or that at least I felt well, even when my body was telling me I wasn't. So a couple weeks after my diagnosis, I go in, I have surgery, and they remove the cancer, and at that point, there was that, relief that I no longer have a cancer, and that the struggles are over with, and now I just got to get through this little bit of recovery, and then I'll be back to normal. Well, that's not what happened. As much as I would love to have had that happen, it did not happen. So I had taken off 6 weeks post-surgery to recover based on what the doctor said. And after the 6 weeks, I was nervous about, losing my job at work, and I needed income, right? The medical bills were starting to pile up more and more. So I went back to work, and it was rough. It was really rough. I felt almost worse than what it was prior to my surgery, and my body hadn't adjusted at that time. So I go back to work, and each day is just a grind. It is very difficult for me to stand. It's very difficult for me to focus. And after work, I just come home, and I lose myself in the sim again. And it gave me, again, that escape. But as I was on my initial leave, I started looking at YouTube and Twitch and finding other people out there who love flight simming, and many content creators out there who specialize in just bringing excitement and education to the simming world. And one of the first ones I found was Two Tone Murphy. And his streams were the crack, as he says, right? And he brings a level of excitement, and it gave me a sense of belonging, being part of that community. And I didn't go fly with him when he did his group flights. I just love having him in the background and listening to the story and listening to the chat and their conversations they had. It was thrilling to be part of that community and have a sense of purpose again. It really was. It was eye-opening. And then I found 757 Spy, and I mentioned him a lot on the stream because he has helped me a lot with education when it comes to these planes, and his community is fantastic. One of the best communities I've ever, or that I am part of in the flight simming world. Some of you might remember the Flying Fabio. I absolutely adore his flights. His flights were such incredible, and I'm so excited and sad that he was able to get back into the world he loved, being a teacher within flight sim, because he is a pro at that. There were several streams where, he had a flight agenda. We're going to fly from here to there, but he never got off the ground because he kept teaching about things that were on the ground, and he would bring up all kinds of data. It is incredible. And I know the community really misses the Flying Fabio because he was an extraordinary streamer. But again, I'm so glad that he was able to get back into teaching in aviation, because that is definitely at his heart and soul. And Kiwi Mace is another guy that I find amazing here on YouTube itself. He streams every once in a while, kind of a side job like I do here on YouTube. But his community is fantastic. And it's fun that he doesn't take himself seriously. And I think that's the best part of his streams, honestly, is that he is just a regular person, just loves flight simming, happens to enjoy streaming as well, and happens to have built a little base, and enjoys just sharing a flight with his friends in that community. And he's another one that is truly amazing. Most recently, Kip on the ground. He's an incredible person as well. He is very personable, very down to earth, very honest. And it's been a pleasure being part of his community as well, because there are some incredible people in his community. But there are other people too that I unfortunately forget to shout out because I don't remember their names, or they might have gone on and did other things and stopped streaming. But there are a ton of other content creators I haven't even watched yet, because there are just so many of great ones, and there's only so much time in the world, in the day I should say, where you can actually watch these creators. But I do recommend checking out, finding the ones that you connect with the most, because that's what helped me a lot during my leave. So back to going back to work. So I went back to work for a couple weeks, and it just wasn't working out. So I ended up talking to my boss and said, hey, if I get these restrictions from the doctor, what do you think? And she said, well, I think you need to go back on a leave again. So I ended up going on another 2-month leave. And throughout that's where I connected with more of the community, 757 Spy and Flying Fabio, etc. And again, they gave me that sense of belonging. It gave me a distraction from the pain that I was dealing with, a distraction from, as I'm on leave, I'm getting paid from work, but I'm only getting paid at 70%. So I'm losing a significant amount of income. I'm also visiting all these doctors, and that is adding to the the pain itself. And how am I going to afford any of this? Can't even fathom how it's going to work out. But so get through those 2 months, find out that I have ulcerative colitis, which is a disease in your colon. Okay, and I'm not going to go into detail what that is, but if you want to, feel free to search it yourself. So I ended up going through treatment with that, and that is a injection every 2 months. And eventually it started kicking in and working, and my symptoms were improving, but not to the point that we hoped. So we end up switching different medications, and this is over the span of probably a year and a half or so. Going to different treatment options, trying something that wasn't FDA approved to see if that would work. And I ended up picking up another infection throughout this time frame. Of course, getting COVID, because this is during the COVID, big era. And, so things were not great. But at the end of the day, I always turned back to flight simming because it inspired me to keep going. It inspired me to, I don't want to go too dark, but when people go through trauma like this, they handle it in their own way. And some people start looking in the really dark areas, the really dark corners of life, and what they might do to no longer be here, to no longer deal with the pain. And I credit Flight Sim for keeping me focused, keep me leveled, because it gave me a sense of reason to keep pushing. And it sounds so weird to say, but to keep on trying, keep on experimenting with all these different medications, because I want to fly the next plane, because I want to see the next sim, because I want to see what this content creator is going to do tomorrow. It gave me a reason to keep on pushing, along with other things, of course, in life. It wasn't just Flight Sim, but Flight Sim was a very big part of that. And so fast forward even further, treatments aren't working, and I talked to my surgeon, and we agree that I need a surgery again, and this time is to remove my entire colon. And so I had the surgery, and I was out, and I was supposed to be released within a week. I ended up getting released 3 weeks later, I think it was, because there were just additional issues that kept popping up. And so I got released finally one day, and I went home. Well, okay, so this is all my fault, to be honest with you. I got released, and as I was waiting to have the transport pick me up, and so we can go down to the bottom of the hospital, and then we can leave for the day, my Fitbit that I wear every day was yelling at me about my heart rate being extremely low. Well, of course, I'm stupid and didn't say anything, and it was down to like 38 or something. Not good, not good. And I was feeling it. Like, I was like hardly focused on anything at that point. But I kept quiet, kept it all to myself. And of course, 2 a.m. comes around. I get released at, I think it was 5 or 6 p.m. And about 2 a.m. comes around, and guess what? Fever and all that jazz. So we end up going back to the hospital, where I go back for another 2 weeks, and I'm dealing with infections, and I'm having all kinds of additional things done to me to get me back in shape. Eventually, of course, I get officially released, and my leave from work ended up being 6 months. And it was hard because after my first surgery, one thing is I started losing track of the days. What day of the week is it? And they were just kind of flying by. And that's not who I am. I like to be in check. I like to be in order. So come the second surgery, I said, it's not going to happen again. I said that I'm going to focus on the days. And so I started watching these streamers, knowing the days that they stream. And that gave me the knowledge of, okay, well, I know that Two Tone's streaming on Monday at this time, so today must be Monday. He's not streaming Tuesday, so therefore I know that it must be Tuesday, right? And then the same thing with 757 Spy. He was, at the time, he was streaming, Tuesday through Sunday. So I would kind of know what day it was. And then, of course, in the stream, people would be like, hey, happy Tuesday, happy Thursday, that kind of stuff. So it kind of gave me that idea of where I was in time frame with life, because I wanted to keep that in order. But honestly, I don't know where I would be today without flight simming. I don't know. And I don't want to even think about it, because flight simming, whether it be the sim itself, whether it be the content creators out there or the communities, I would be a different person. And I'm thankful for this community here on YouTube that has helped me in so many ways. I've met some incredible people on this channel, P2 and Fry and Jay Russ and Irishman, just to name a few. There are many. Will is out there as well. And there are many, many people. And I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning them. I do apologize. I don't have a list of people right now, but just off the top of my head, I do apologize if I'm not mentioning you. But there are incredible people within the flight sim world, within the flight sim community, here on this community, many other communities that have helped me stick with the battle. And here we are, what's it been now? Almost 4 years since my first surgery. And I'm still dealing with complications. I just had a complication last week, found out I had a new disease. And so now I'm dealing with that one. And guess what? Flight simming has helped me accomplish the goal of keeping at the battle and not giving up in that battle. So if you are someone who doesn't have to be health related, but if you are struggling mentally, if you're struggling physically with something, maybe flight sim or something else, some other hobby you might have interest, might help you regain your passion and focus and maybe escape the reality you're currently in. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. It is very important for me to share. I know I talked about it in the past, like I said, but this is more important than anything I've ever done on this channel. So again, thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you for the next one. Take care.